You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for September 30th, 2025. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, gang. Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your questions and comments via the chat feature, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle.
Hi, Facebook.
We're going to start by talking about last week's weekly tittle, which was called 5-Minute Habit Formation. The assignment was to add a 5-minute maintenance habit to your daily routine to stem the incoming clutter in a problem area. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who cultivated a new clutter prevention habit this week? Please let us know in the comments. Frequent participant and commenter Ginger posted a YouTube comment sharing her takes on several of the 5-minute habits we suggested in last week's show. Here's one of Ginger's routines. Dishes. Clean dishes are put away while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew. On days when I just don't want to do it, I'll tell myself, I'll just put away cups and bowls stored above the coffee pot. That action usually has me go ahead and finish the job. If it's a big load, I put the dishes on the counter near the cabinet where they're stored. Then once the dishwasher is empty, I go around and put them away. I realize I'm separating the actions, clearing the dishwasher, putting away the dishes.
Ginger is really doing so many things right there. She's created a powerful habit for herself by linking the task of unloading the dishwasher and putting away the dishes with the established routine of brewing her morning coffee, which we all stand at the coffee pot and patiently wait for it to brew. Since these tasks are both taking place in the kitchen and they both fit logically as morning routines, there's a highly likelihood of successfully linking these habits together so that one will naturally lead to the other. She allows herself the flexibility to handle only part of the dishwasher chore on days when she feels resistance, but she also takes advantage of the fact that getting started is the hardest part of the most tasks, and it's often easy to keep going and finish the whole chore once she's built some momentum. And she breaks the process down into smaller, discrete tasks. So even if she gets interrupted before all the dishes are put away, she's emptied the dishwasher so it's ready to load today's dirty dishes. Great work. Good job, Ginger. And thanks for sharing your routines with us. I agree with you about you stand around at the coffee pot and tap your foot, tap, 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 waiting patiently for the coffee to come out. And, it's a perfect time to do a kitchen related chore while you're waiting for that to happen. Even if you're, still half asleep, where to put the cups and bowls in your kitchen. It's not hard. So thanks for sharing that.
M says, I worked on Take It With You, grabbing whatever needs to go the same direction I am going.
Good job. Did you feel like you got some movement happening? I think it's really important when you think, no wasted trip, and you manage to take things back and forth where you want them instead of leaving them parked somewhere weird. And so, good job. I mean, it's a constant chore of resetting things, but it sounds like you really you added a habit that's going to be useful for you. And
okay,
Anita has her hand up back there.
Go ahead, Anita.
I have my dining room table, which is because when I moved, I just didn't want to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. So things they're not decorated perfect. And I had this table is a butcher block table, which doesn't look anything like my fancier furniture that's kind of surrounded. But It was the butcher block table the bar to the left, the end of the kitchen counter to the right. And I conquered the mail habit that I was doing already.
Yay.
The problem I had was I was still collecting stuff on the end of the counter, and that was because it was collecting on the table, and that was because I realized I really didn't like the way my table looked. And I put a
Okay.
tablecloth on it, and I remembered I was doing this a while back. I don't know why I stopped using tablecloth. Once the tablecloth is on the table and I have my matching placemats on top of that because I spill everything, I just it I mean it just asked to be decluttered. It was talking to me. So when I before I go to bed at night, I mean actually it's mostly just because there's crumbs from dinner.
Yeah.
I clean it off but and the only thing I do at the end of the counter, the one thing that I changed was I stopped saving every single coupon that came into the house.
Oh, there you go.
I
That's a
have a stand
burden off your
rack.
shoulders.
I have a stand-up rack, but and I put the things that I know I'm really going to use in there. And if it's something I'm giving to a friend who I know lives near that restaurant, I put it in my office in the outbox instead of
Ah.
leaving it here in the kitchen. So things I'm, but I would say the main thing that got me was putting that tablecloth on the table. I
And I
could,
think it's probably
it,
because
it,
it makes it look dressed up.
yeah, yeah, that's the answer. That's
It
the
looks prettier, it looks fancy when you put a
yeah,
tablecloth on it.
yep.
And that
Even though I'm
triggers your, this isn't just a workspace now. This is someplace that I want to keep
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah.
it graduated the table from daily
Yeah.
workspace to nice place to just sit and enjoy a meal. And I even got some flowers to put in the middle. And
Oh,
yeah,
see,
so,
yeah,
Nice.
like it
yeah,
turned the corner for you to make
yeah,
it a more, it was a visually pleasing place to look at.
yeah. My
That's
God,
cool.
anything, but I felt good. So
That's great. Hey, whatever
Excellent.
works and gets you moving along, right? And really all it did was it's enough of an incentive that it prompts you to finish the decluttering work that's happening and accumulating on the table. And so, and you're doing it in real time instead of letting it sit there for a while before you do it. And that's great.
Okay, May says, I don't cook until all my dishes are clean. If I want to
Mm.
eat, I must keep up.
Oh, because every time you make another meal, there's more dishes, right? You can't make the meal come out and have it be dishless. So you
Right.
can minimize it maybe sometimes, but you can't make it without any dishes. So good job. Good for you keeping up on it.
Okay, Jacqueline has been giving us really dynamic tittle reports for weeks now. She says, I got rid of 11 more jigsaw puzzles this week. That brings my total to 29 since the summer. I still
Awesome.
I still have puzzles on 3 shelves of a metal shelving unit in the basement, and my goal is to reduce it to 1 shelf. I dropped
That's a
off
good goal.
I dropped off 2 more boxes of assorted donations to the Salvation Army, and I sold a lava lamp on Marketplace.
Ooh, she's hitting it on all fronts again. Good job. I like it. And I like that you're keeping track, like you're keeping the number. I'm up to 29 puzzles out the door. That's what you need. You need the reward of look at my numbers getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. So good job. You're doing great. You're cooking with gas over there. I'm proud of you.
Lisa Beth says I added a quick check at bedtime routine to check for new drop zones.
Oh, yeah. So you're scanning your environment to see where a pile got laid somewhere that wasn't supposed to be there.
And
Good job.
she added my hubby has early dementia, and it's a real thing to keep simplifying and resetting things that he's moved.
Right? And he's moving it without thinking about it, but he's also used to the way things are, and so it's important that it gets reset to help him with with his reference points as he's moving around the house. So that's good. I'm sorry, I know that's an added burden for you to manage when somebody is actively undoing what you redo every day. So I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that, but you're doing what's best for you and for him at the same time. So I'm glad.
Yeah. Linda says, years ago, I registered at an online site to stop junk mail. It was remarkably, but not perfectly effective. I
Mm,
recently moved and the junk mail restarted almost immediately. So this week I looked up how to do this again and managed to complete the task. I'm hoping to begin seeing less junk mail soon. The site I used was dmachoice.org, and
yeah, direct marketing.
yeah, and she gave a longer URL than that. I'll put that in the show notes. Um, it costs $6 for 10 years.
That's pretty good. I think, a reduced junk mail for $6, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Good for
All
you.
right.
Good for you. If you just moved, like you can cut it off at the pass. So you can, before that address gets linked to your name very much, you can shut it down quickly. So good for you for jumping right on
Okay, since we have 26 topics to talk about today, we better get to it.
it.
Clutter insinuates itself into every part of our lives, our space, our time, our emotions, our relationships. From boxes moldering in the attic to the zester lurking in a kitchen drawer, we must examine our lives to discard the stuff we no longer need, love, or use. Today, we've set ourselves another alphabet challenge to identify and discuss an organizing concept, issue, or tip for every letter from A to Z. And let me share the PowerPoint again,
Here comes the PowerPoint. I'm
making
going
sure
to
I'm
be a
grabbing
little box in the corner now.
right.
Is that the one that moves?
Look at that.
There, sure enough. Okay,
Only
so
I moved too early.
that's okay. It's not a problem. So I guess that the PowerPoint will be available, like the people that are in the Zoom room can see it, but I'm
Right.
not sure that you can see it on the
You,
YouTube video.
no, you should be able to see it on the YouTube video.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's great. If that's true, that would be lovely. Okay, so we regularly discuss really heavy topics on the show, like major life changes and disability and divorce, and how those life situations affect clutter management. Sometimes we need a more lighthearted break. And since it's been almost 200 episodes since our last alphabet challenge, we thought it was time again to be a little silly. So here we are with the revised A to Z decluttering and organizing list for you, starting off with A is for algorithm. We often talk about algorithms here at the Clutter Fairy. You can set an algorithm to help you decide how many items of any type you keep, or how often you go through things for filtering, or what parameters you use to decide what you're keeping. There are no rules or judgments in an algorithm. It's just a pathway, just a method devised by you as a means to an end. Set the algorithms that work for you and help you manage your space's context. B is for bookshelves.
Thank you. Sorry.
Just flip. There we go.
I'll get the
Bookshelves
hang of it.
bookshelves are so helpful to store books and not so great for storing other things. Check out your bookshelves and look really closely at them. Do the books fit or are they crowded in there and all scrambled? It's time to straighten them out and filter the collection so the books fit better with room to spare for anything new that's coming in because you book readers are always adding new. Are there other things on the shelves like piles of paper or a bunch of small items strewn across the shelf surface? If you have loose things on the shelves, it's time to look for containers to hold the items instead, so that those containers are on the bookshelves and not just a little small row of, chaos sitting on the shelves.
And that
Not the
takes
best
us
use of it.
and that takes us very smoothly to containers.
Containers. That's true. So C is for container. When we reviewed Dana K. White's book a few weeks ago, we talked about her container concept. It's a clutter management technique. So you pick a container for a collection of like items. You can keep what fits the container that's designed to fit where you want to park it. Use the container as an already determined parking space as a limit to what can stay of the collection you want to store in it so that you have one space with one container and that container holds the amount of t-shirts that you're going to keep and that's as many t-shirts as you're allowed. Use that concept to help you manage your stuff.
Well, the container concept is a good approach to the aforementioned bookshelves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Establishing that the number of bookshelves you already own is going to be the limit for your book collection
Right.
is a great parameter to
Yeah, the
measure.
bookshelves are the parking space
Yeah.
And that's a finite parking space, and when those parking spaces are full, your collection's at its limit and you have to start filtering. And I invariably get asked, should I get another bookcase? No, no, you shouldn't. You should not get another bookcase. You should start filtering. That's what we're going to say. Bookcases, they have a big presence. They're full, they're tall, they take up a lot of wall space. They are a presence in your house. And so managing those bookcases is important.
M says, I'm using the container concept for packing for a trip too.
Oh, good, right? It has to fit in what you're taking with you.
Exactly.
It's not about adding more luggage to take. It's about deciding what luggage you're willing to manage and making your travel contents fit that. Absolutely true. Good job. D is for downsizing. This is a specialized move that most of us work through later in life. At some point, the large family home is too much to manage. We don't have the capacity or the inclination to keep it up. And so we have to shrink our clutter to fit into a much smaller house. It's really an estate sale before you've actually gone. A greater than 50% reduction of ownership to fit a new lifestyle. It's a lot of work, but also very freeing if you can do it. Lots of people are afraid of it, but if you do it and you're on the flip side, you're amazed at how light you feel when you're done.
Okay, next is
Flipping. E is for enough. This is a pivotal question to ask yourself about everything you own. Based on your means, your living situation, your storage and display spaces, filtering any collection of items for what is enough for your space is a basic decluttering technique. Everything should be filtered against what is enough for the parameter of your space and your needs. You don't need to keep way more than will actually fit in your home or way more than will actually fit in the container you've designated. When you reach an amount that fits in your house and your lifestyle appropriately, and it goes with your means and your storage and whatever alternative storage you have, then you have enough. It's enough. And it's a good parameter to, yeah, I could keep collecting and I could collect 500 of these things, or I could decide that, 30 is enough because that's how much space I have.
since grocery prices have been so outrageous,
Mm.
Jaime and I have been doing a lot of our shopping choices based on what's buy one get one, because our
Ah,
our grocery store always has some stuff that's buy one get one. And so we have a list of things that we're always checking at the grocery store to see if they're on sale, and that's the only time we buy them. But then that means that sometimes you end up with 4 boxes of grape nuts, which is way more than enough. But where we balance that out is we have a whole lot of other categories in the pantry where we it's sort of we go with a more lean approach.
mm,
Like if we want to have if we want to have some Korean barbecue sauce around, we have one jar, and when we use it, we can buy another jar, you
right.
know?
You can't replace it until it's empty.
So we're real strict on what counts as enough to make the pantry work.
Good job. And to not overstuff it, right?
Couple of comments. Oh, Paula says that 0 boxes of grape nuts is enough in my home. Yeah, it seems like people either love or hate grape
Hate grape
nuts. Those
nuts.
are the
It's
only two
true.
choices. Some comments on bookcases. Brenda says, I got rid of 4 wall bookcases and kept a
Ooh,
half-size bookcase. Yes, just the one.
that is a major container downgrade. That's awesome. You really gave up some real estate for books and made it into a much smaller container. Good for you.
And she added the desk and bookcases took up the whole room. Now it is a guest room with a futon.
Oh, look at that. There, see, you repurposed the room to something else.
And
Good job.
Susan said, I love books, and though I've managed to thin them out, I'm actually considering getting another small bookcase. It
Uh,
doesn't have to be just for books. It would be great for other random, currently homeless things. Haven't
okay.
acquired haven't acquired any new storage for ages.
Then I would consider, what containers do you want to sit on that bookshelf that's going to hold the other stuff. Books will fit on a bookcase, and the way that it's designed with flat shelves, books sit on it and it's no problem. It's when you start putting other stuff on it that it becomes more of an issue. So if you think about acquiring the bookcase, also think about acquiring some containers that will fit on the bookcase to hold the other stuff you're referencing.
Okay, let's move on to.
F is for fire hose. This is a Clutter Fairy metaphor for the continuing stream of things coming into the house. Sometimes it's the paper flow coming in the form of mail, or the constant deliveries coming from active online shopping, or the overflow of stuff in the closet from shopping for clothes so often. If you're dealing with a cluttered space, you have to handle the existing overflow of stuff, but you also need to modify your habits that are creating a fire hose of stuff incoming currently. No point in just working on the existing backlog of clutter. You also have to turn off the fire hose of new things incoming to truly transform your space.
Let me share a comment.
Okay?
This one refers back to enough. Terry says, I recently heard the saying, enough is a feast, or a variant, enough is as good as a feast.
Mm.
I hear it going through my mind when I think about acquiring in an area where I have enough. I'm looking at you, crafting supplies.
Crafting supplies are the last frontier about enough, and deciding that you have enough things to play with for your actual lifetime is a mature place for a crafter to arrive. Like, surely I don't need to keep buying at the same rate because I have enough and I haven't even begun to make a dent in it. And if I keep crafting until I die, I will still have supplies left over. And so I can dial down my acquisition speed a little bit. Been there, done that.
Okay, G is for.
G is for giving stuff away. This is an obvious one, right? If you're trying to handle a cluttered space, the biggest thing you'll be handling is removing the excess that you don't want to keep. Finding an easy way to give things away to a charity that you feel good about is an essential part of the process. We all have to create an output, a removal process, and have those things removed to some place that we feel good about. So figuring out what your preferred method to give things away is an important process for getting your space under control.
H
H
is
is for
for.
habits. I think this is Ed's favorite topic is habits,
I do like to talk about habits. Habits are fascinating. It's,
right?
human behavior in its tiniest units.
Right? And whether we have control of it or not, right?
Yeah.
So we've done a bunch of shows about starting new habits. Every declutter job will show you what habits you have that aren't supporting an organized space and what habits you need to develop to help you maintain that organized space. Just know that your habits impact your ability to maintain a space, and you'll need to create habits to support your organizing goals to replace the habits that have sabotaged your organizing goals in the past.
Well, I loved what Ginger had to contribute on the
Mm-hmm.
subject of her habits. That we've talked specifically about the tiny habits, uh, philosophy, I guess you could say, or strategy
Mm-hmm.
from Dr. BJ Fogg. This idea that your habit should be linked to related behavior. To cultivate a new habit, you can link it to an existing habit that you're already successful with. So if you're somebody who struggles with keeping the dishwasher empty, Gayle, um,
Right.
but you're, absolutely religious in your preparing coffee in the
Coffee
morning,
consumption, that is true.
linking your new dishwasher habit you want to cultivate to your existing coffee pot habit is a great strategy. They're close together in physical proximity, and they're also they're kind of thematically related.
Right.
And that's a great way to start a new habit. It's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, I think really it doesn't even have to be a related idea. It just has to be related in proximity to
Yeah,
where
if
you want
yeah,
the
if
habit
it's
to unfold. And so,
right. Yeah, it can be either, physically close or psychologically close. If it's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
is easy to connect in your mind, that will work. And if it's easy to connect in your space, that will work.
Yeah, both ways. Exactly.
And I is for.
I is for incapacity. Some life circumstances create physical or mental incapacities. Maybe you have an accident and something's broken. It's hard to get around with a cast and makes managing your space really difficult. Maybe you get COVID and have brain fog for 3 weeks. It's really hard to focus and function when your mind is foggy. We can't predict when life is going to interrupt us and we lose our usual function and focus. Just know that if and when something happens and you're incapacitated in some way, you can modify your processes to work at the speed you've got until you're improved. All things count, and even if your abilities are changed, you can still work on your project in some way within your new limits and ask for help when you need it. And you know what I think of when I talk about this, Ed? I think of you when you had your lenses replaced, your
Hmm.
eye
Well,
work done.
my detached retinas, actually.
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes,
was
yes. And so you had to have that gas bubble in your eye and you had to lay down for 50 minutes of
r-
every hour of the day
right.
on a specific side. And so Ed would get up and at some point in the day, he would take his 10 minutes where he was allowed to be upright and he would walk out the front door and walk, down the block a little ways and turn around and come back. And that was him trying to maintain his habit of walking every day. So he managed to keep doing it and he would actually walk every day. But instead of walking for an hour or, several miles like he normally did, he walked, 200 steps down the block and 200 back because
Right.
that's all he could do in the 10 minutes. So, you can
Well,
still
and
keep doing something even if you're incapacitated in some way.
in 10 minutes and without being able to see out of one eye, because
Right? There's that.
while you have that gas bubble, you have this really weird view of the
Can't-
world as
Yeah, you
if you
can't
were
really
at the
see it.
bottom of a fishbowl.
So, I mean, it was for him, it was a major disruption of his normal routine, and he still managed to maintain his habit of walking every day. And under his rule that everything counts, those 200 steps down the street and back still counted as walking every day, even though it wasn't his usual speed or volume. And
Right.
he made it happen for how long did you have to lay on the couch like that?
It was about a month.
Yeah, I mean, it was a significant amount of time that he was impaired, and so
Actually, I don't think I had to stay immobilized for the whole, it wasn't the whole month. It was something less than that. It was a month
yeah.
before the bubble was completely gone.
But I
So
remember you being on the
but
couch for
it
a
was at least a
while,
couple of weeks. Yeah. It was a long time.
right?
Yeah.
So my that's all my point. Yes, we're gonna have moments of incapacity, and you can still do a little bit of something even if you're incapacitated, and you just ask for help, and keep trying to do what you can do, modify it for what's going on for you, and you can get back to something else later. J is for journey. We often want a quick turnaround to our organizing project. No one wants to spend forever trying to declutter and organize the space, but the process is more a journey than an appointment. You're going to spend some amount of time reclaiming what's out of control, and the more chaos, the longer the recovery time. So plan for the long term journey instead of a fast sprint. Then you won't get frustrated before you've gotten to the end, and you won't have to judge yourself for not fixing in a weekend what took 5 years to build. Just a reminder.
Okay.
K is for keep toss decisions. These are the fundamental central choices that we make to begin the process of clearing our space. The basic question you're asking is about every single item is in your house, are we keeping this or are we tossing this? You remember we've mentioned decision fatigue before. The weight of dozens or hundreds or even thousands of keep toss decisions is why decision fatigue happens. But the difficulty of these choices can't be avoided if we want our spaces to support our lives. You're going to be making keep toss decisions forever.
Well, I also, this one also, when you uh put this one on the list, it also made me think about Dana White again and her her two questions.
Mm,
Um where does this where does this thing go? Or where would I look for this thing?
yes,
And would I even know I had this if I, would I even know I had one of these if I went looking for it?
right.
More or less, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to
L is for limited life cycle. So by life cycle, we mean all the phases that stuff goes through from the moment we start thinking about acquiring something through shopping, the purchase, the period of infatuation with a new favorite, active use, storage, and then the period of disenchantment, when a thing falls out of favor and it is eventually ready to be disposed of. Everything we own has a life cycle that starts out as a fresh object, and that object runs out of usefulness at some point. It usually happens much sooner than we prepare for it to run out. Clothes go out of fashion, shoes, soles get worn down, a house decoration stops seeming appealing to be used sooner rather than later. Most of the objects you own don't have an infinite life cycle. They stay functional and useful for some time, but they start to deteriorate and fall apart while stashed away in a closet or a box in the garage. Just because you keep it doesn't mean its life cycle is for however long you store it. It's that there is a life cycle for the item that is not correlated to how long you keep it. So it's just a point of reference to think about in terms of you may still have kept it for 30 years, but 30 years down the line, is it still able to function in the way that um, you used it when you originally bought it? And I'm going to guess most of the time the answer is no.
Okay.
M is for momentum. Most of the time, starting a project gets you going and builds momentum to keep going. Each next step completed reinforces the momentum you've started rolling. Just take those first few steps, take as a small bite as you need to get yourself into motion, and then repeat. Let the momentum build from those strung together steps forward, and soon you'll be seriously moving along. We've all had that experience of, I can't, okay, and you take a step, and finally you are in motion. And building momentum is just stringing those steps one at a time.
This is this is another one I want to, sort of thank Ginger for her contribution, because she sort of made a point in there about momentum. She says there are
Mm.
days when I don't feel like putting away all the dishes, so I allow myself to just put away this one group,
Yeah, the
this one
cups and bowls.
category, the cups and
Hmm.
bowls that go over the coffee pot.
Right?
But then she finds that once she's going, it's not that hard to keep going.
That's it. Once she does one of pieces of it, one category of it, it's enough momentum to keep her rolling.
And this is true in so many areas of our lives. Like,
Hmm.
like there are days when I do not feel like going for my swim. And so what I tell myself is getting to the Y and to to the pool is 50% credit.
Yeah.
You get
Right?
50% credit for getting yourself there.
Just for getting in the building, right?
Yeah, you get another 25% credit for changing into your swimsuit, taking a shower, and going down to the pool. And then the other 25% is actually doing the exercise. But there's so many areas of our lives where if we can just get a good start. So,
Hmm.
allocate 5 minutes if that's what you feel like you can do, or 10 minutes if that's what you can feel like you can do on your organizing project.
Mm.
And maybe you will have some momentum and be able to keep going. Or maybe it will just make it that much easier tomorrow.
Right? And if you get momentum and your momentum lasts 30 minutes, it's still 30 minutes you didn't have before you started. So it's still all those increments add up. And if you can just get yourself in motion for, a half an hour, it'll be better than you had at the beginning of the day. And it's worth the effort.
Um, M says Aslet used Swiss cheese method to start momentum. I'm not have we talked about
We'll have to
I'm
look
not
that up.
Aslet, I'm not sure. You only have to do a tiny chunk at a time to take a whole out of the work.
That's
So that's the
true.
Swiss cheese
I got it.
method.
That's awesome.
Moving on to N.
N is for need, as in I might need that. We keep lots of items we might need someday, but remember, you can't store an endless supply of stuff against every possibility that might arise. Sometimes we have to make a brutally honest assessment of whether the need we've used to justify keeping something, is real and immediate and important in relation to the other ways we could use our space and time. We all justify keeping stuff because we might need it someday, but you all know where that rabbit hole leads because you're all in this room because of that. I know right now.
Well, and we casually use the word need to
Hmm.
refer to, you know, what do we want to call this guy here, this dog here? Fido. Fido needs some new dog toys. Well, no, he doesn't. He needs food in that bowl. That's what he needs.
Right.
He wants 12 more dog toys or another can of tennis balls.
Or he wants to be fed twice instead of once because he's sure that he's starving even though he just ate.
Right. So it's important for all of us and our pets to distinguish between need and
Need and
want.
want.
Yeah.
100%. You're right.
Okay.
O is for options. There's more than one way to organize your things, to store your things, and to use your things. You can do what works for you. Don't worry about finding the exact right method. Find a method that you can do, that you are ready to execute. Pick among a million options to solve that organization issue you're working on, and what works for you is the right answer. There are so many ways to do it, and despite the fact that everybody says their way is the way, I'm going to tell you that's not true. There's a million ways you can do it, and you just have to find the one that you find appealing, you find yourself willing to do, and you're willing to keep up with, and that's the one that matters.
Okay. Pat from Michigan reminded me that Aslet was the author of Clutter's Last Stand.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
We'll have to
I knew
take a
that
look at
name
that
sounded
one.
familiar. It's been a while.
Yeah.
That book was out in
Yeah.
the 80s, maybe. It's been around.
Okay. What's next?
Flip
There
the
we are.
stage. Okay. P is for procrastination. Everyone's bad habit. We all stall out of fear or disinterest or avoidance. But if the goal you have is important enough to you, then climbing over your procrastination is important. Be afraid, but do something anyway. Think that you'd rather avoid dealing with this, but do it anyway. You're trying to make your own life better. At some point, you have to step off procrastination and start getting in action. Make the choice for the betterment of your own life. And I wanted Ed to step in here and explain why procrastination got a little tree frog in the window.
Well, there was a book about procrastination that came out a few years ago, maybe a decade or two ago, actually now, called
Right.
Eat the Frog or Eat That Frog. Um, and
Oh yeah, Elizabeth said.
it's based on a quote that is probably apocryphally attributed to Mark Twain about um, if along the lines of if the hardest thing you have to do today is eat a frog, eat that frog first.
Right. Do the things
So,
that are most unpleasant first.
yeah, do the most unpleasant task first. That's the idea of eating the frog.
There you go. So it's a veiled reference to eat the frog metaphor.
Yes, exactly.
It's a very cute little tree frog nonetheless.
Well, and procrastination is a really difficult topic to
Uh,
illustrate. So
right?
that's why we went with the
To
frog.
visually represent.
Yeah.
Clever. Thank you.
I mean, we all know what procrastination looks like in our own homes, but you don't really want to see more giant stacks of paper, right? So we went with the cute green tree frog
Cute
instead.
frog. Exactly. Thank you so much. Okay, Q is for questions. You're going to develop a series of questions to ask yourself as you make keep toss decisions. Those questions will reflect your values, what's important to you, what space you have, what your priorities are, what your living situation is. Choose the questions that help you stay true to what you find important while allowing you to gain control of your stuff and space. We get asked about what questions we should ask ourselves to filter. And there's questions that we can offer anybody and that I might use for anybody in a client situation, but there's always questions that need to be refined for what's going on in your life, how much space you have, what kind of capacities you have, what kind of caretaking that you're doing, how many other people are living in the house. So the questions that you ask definitely need to be modified to reflect what's going on in your life and what your parameters are. And figuring out what those questions are to help you support your lifestyle and gain control of your stuff will be really helpful when you figure out the questions work for you.
Deborah says, go, I don't agree with the eat the frog idea. I can't eat frogs without having dealt with the many things first, then frogs can be eaten. I do understand that. I
Some people do it backwards,
and the
right?
truth is, I do not eat the frog first in scheduling my day. I eat the frog after I do the small habits that um make me feel like I'm off on the right foot for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first morning writing and organizing my to-do list for the day. I've never been one of those people who can organize the to-do list the day before. It just never makes sense for me that way. And
Yeah.
so that has to be in front of eating the frog. But get
And
to
I
the
have to
frog as
say,
early in the day as you can, right?
right? And because I'm not cooking with gas until the afternoon, I'm not a morning
Oh,
person.
right. Yeah.
So trying to do a frog first thing in the morning, that's a no-go for me because I'm doomed to failure. My brain is not turned on yet and there's nothing to be done. So I've always been somebody I get more done post lunch. And
Yeah.
so that my heavy lifting happens in the afternoon for
So
sure.
for Gail, we must modify it to eat that frog right after lunch.
Right?
It's
Exactly.
Susan says if the task is to eat two frogs,
Ooh,
eat the bigger frog first.
right. Eat the frog with the screaming deadline.
Right.
That's the one.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. R is for reflection. Your home will be a reflection of how you spend your time, your money, your focus, and your physical energy. Look around at what's reflected by your home. Does it reflect that you don't face your chores well? Does it show that you shop way more than you have resources or storage capacity? Does it show the change in your lifestyle from working to retired, from living single to married with kids? Does it show that you hate dealing with the mail? Check out what your space says about your time and attention. It'll show you where you can focus for improvements in your space. S is for safety. We don't always realize that our cluttered space is affecting our safety, but if pathways are not clear or are very narrowed down, we've made the space less safe and created tripping hazards. If exits and windows are blocked, we've made it hard to escape in an emergency. If we don't churn our pantry contents or our fridge contents, we might be poisoning ourselves. Consider your own safety when reviewing your space and making decluttering plans.
Okay, and
Flip the thing. There we go. T is for transitions. We all go through transitions in our lives, from married to a parent, from working to retired, from parent to empty nester, from healthy to chronic illness. Each of those transitions creates a needed change in our environment to reflect that transition. Spaces and stuff change along with the transitions in our lives. So because we often don't reset our houses to match the transition taking place and end up with a space that no longer supports our current life situation. Pay attention to transitions and how to reflect those in our homes.
I want to send a shout out to Ginger who joined us late. And Ginger,
Oh, hi,
you're
Ginger.
going to enjoy watching the YouTube on video because we read part of your tittle response and have talked about you several times already in today's show. So we're delighted you're joining us.
Thanks for coming to the room.
Okay.
U is for usefulness. We all want to keep useful things, I get it, but no point in keeping useful things that we aren't going to use. Just because it's useful doesn't mean it's useful to us. We need to get real with ourselves about the usefulness we keep because we'll be using it and the usefulness that needs to go so others can use it instead of us storing it for nothing. Don't you love the Swiss Army knife with all the it's a very useful little knife.
Okay, let's go on to
V is for virtual appointments. Virtual appointments with a professional organizer is a great way to improve your organizing results. A professional can help you plan, point out the best pathway to take, which steps in what order to take. They can suggest layout changes that might help, repurpose some things that you already have, and give you an idea of when it makes sense to ask for outside help to physically come to support you. A virtual appointment will give you some accountability for your commitments and help you keep moving forward on your project. It's worth considering adding an appointment to your budget, especially when you feel overwhelmed with your organizing project.
All right, let's go on to W.
W is for wishes. We wish we were thin again, or still doing that hobby, or still in that relationship. We all hold on to wishes for things that are no longer real for us. And in that wishing, we keep things that remind us of what used to be true. But our spaces can get drowned in the reminders of wishes and impact our ability to enjoy what's true now, our current life. We may wish something was still true, but drowning in stuff from a former life just buries our current life instead. Better to release some of those old wishes and focus on reflecting what's good and real about life right now and make space for some brand new wishes instead.
All right.
X marks the spot. Everything we decide to store and use in our place needs a parking space. If we want to be able to find it quickly and put it away easily after we use it. Whatever you're keeping for whatever reason needs a permanent parking space for it to reside. That's why when your home is smaller and has less storage room, finding the parking space for everything is a challenge. Figuring out that space for everything figuring out that space for everything is a big part of recovering your home's organization.
And what about Y?
Y is for yes. If it's not an enthusiastic yes, then it's really a no. If you don't feel immediately that it's a keep for you, then it's most likely a no, and you can use that as an algorithm if you want. Learn to recognize your hesitation to say yes as an indication that you're really just trying to find a way to keep it when you don't actually care about it. Keep the definitive yes items and skip the hesitation items.
And finally,
This is an Ed-centric one.
right?
Z is for Zester. A zester is our example of a single function kitchen implement. As a general rule, we suggest you avoid single function kitchen implements unless there's absolutely no other item in the universe that could serve this function. You use this tool very frequently, such as a yogurt maker for someone who makes yogurt every week and eats yogurt every day. The tool in question is beautiful to display, such as a KitchenAid stand mixer, so you keep it even though you use it infrequently. It has some special significance for you, like it's an heirloom or a gift from someone important, or you have a spectacular amount of kitchen storage space. I suppose a zester could be a frequent use item, but I'm guessing not unless you're a cook. I may have a zester, but I'm never using it. So if it's a kitchen gear item, it's a kitchen gear item that I can skip owning because I'm not ever going to pull it out.
And single use tools are not restricted to the kitchen. And
Mm,
so I'm kind of giving you a preview of the tittle, but you probably also have single use tools or equipment in your art and craft supplies. You may
mm,
have them in your toolbox or on the tool bench in your garage. And if something,
those.
really only serves one use and you don't do that use very often, you might consider letting it go and just rent one when you need it again.
Right?
Rent
Or
one
figure out
or
another to solve the
borrow
problem.
one when you need it again. If you cook with lemon zest, um, once every 2 years, you can probably borrow a neighbor's zester, or
Right?
just make do with a paring knife or your
A
peeler,
grater,
because
the cheese grater.
the micro plane grater, the
Hmm.
cheese grater, yeah, any one of those.
Any one of those.
um May says, I fail on the zester as I fall for all the gimmicks. My sister calls me the gadget queen.
Uh-oh. If you have a label, if you have a nom de plume that reflects that you are into gadgets, it may be time to go through and let some of that go, right? I can see that's an area you might want to filter. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, let's talk about next week.
Okay.
I'm going to unshare that so I can see some other things on my screen again. And I want to talk about actually the coming weeks. We will be back next week at the usual time, Tuesday, October 7th at noon U.S. Central Time. The main bedroom should be a quiet, peaceful sanctuary where we recharge ourselves and enjoy intimate moments. But when clutter invades, visual distractions and mental noise can drain our energy and diminish the quality of our sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
if your sleep isn't good, the rest of your life isn't going to be that
Ain't
great.
nothing good. Right?
Next week, we're going to offer strategies for transforming your primary bedroom from a stress-inducing mess into a tranquil refuge.
There
So
you
join us
go.
October 7th for From Chaotic Hiding Place to Peaceful Retreat, the primary bedroom. And then the following week, October 14th, is our next book club meeting. We're going to talk
Mm.
about ADD-friendly ways to organize your life by Judith Kohlberg and Kathleen Nadeau. So that one is
2 weeks
especially
away now.
for our
Our ADHD
our
audience.
ADHD audience, yeah, our audience members who've been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD before that.
Mm-hmm.
The book refers to ADD friendly, but they make it clear that they're talking about ADHD as well, which is the newer diagnosis. Um, Gayle, why don't you give us the title?
Week's title is Examine Your Zipper. This week's assignment is to leverage our X, Y, and Z decluttering ideas to make a bit of quick progress in your space. So first, X marks the spot.
Why don't I take over from
Thank
there?
you.
Okay. X marks the spot. Identify an item that gets shuffled from spot to spot in your home because it doesn't have a place of its own. Assign a permanent space and take it there. Y is for yes. Identify an item that you've been hemming and hawing about, maybe possibly one of these days discarding. If you can't enthusiastically say yes to it, let it go. And Z is for Zester. Identify a single-use item that you rarely put to use. The kitchen is the most likely spot for such things, but you could also check your toolbox, art supplies, game closet, or elsewhere. Give away, throw away, or donate the item. Try one or all three of these ideas and then come back next week and tell us how it went.
Thank you for pinch hitting. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Before I choke myself to death back here.
This is where you usually
Oh,
thank everyone for, well,
yeah, sorry.
you know what though, we have a little time. Let's go back to let's go for a couple more
You want to pick up
comments.
some comments? Sure.
Yeah, actually, Ginger said, reminder, having a written vision helps to direct your answers for so many of these ABCs.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Having a plan in your head about what you're trying to get, what you're actually aiming for is super important.
Ginger also added, not a morning person. I have to do the well-practiced morning routine to stoke the fire before I get this old engine moving.
I know, right? I'm just, I have to feed the cats. I have to get the coffee. I have to, drink the coffee before I can be in motion. And it's all stuff that I feel like I do on autopilot. And I do it like in the exact same order. Like I have to go and disarm the alarm, and then I have to go make the coffee and feed the cats, and then I have to come sit back down and let the cats out. Like I have to do it all in the same order, or I forget pieces of it because I'm so unconscious in the morning. So there's definitely a well-worn path for me of the stuff that I do in the morning before my brain's functioning. And I
Okay,
imagine it's what's like people do it. Like my little sister is a morning person, and so she gets up and they all start spinning around like crazy. But at night, she sort of, looks like a zombie and passes out at 10 o'clock. Like her brain, you can see her brain going off, and I'm still running around doing stuff at night, and she's the opposite. So we're an interesting pair, the two of us trying to run together.
it you're making me think again about habits, and I am totally a morning person, but I also enjoy late night goofing off. But I have realized that for me, getting to bed at a reasonable hour is, in fact, is like a keystone habit or
Hmm.
cornerstone habit. I don't, would depending on who's terminology
metaphors.
you want to use, but
Yeah.
yeah, that getting it to be an effective morning person, you must observe a bedtime.
You have to have good enough sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I'm sure
Same thing.
that's true even if you're not a morning person. You still need to observe a bedtime to make the rest of your day work.
It's true. If I don't, then I'm way more unconscious in the morning when I get up than not, than
Okay,
I'm already.
if you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep those questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and I appreciate you hanging with me while I have a choking fit at the end. Sorry about that disruption. We'll be back next week, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.